city wasn't easier.
I believe that I have always been a relatively productive person. You know, I got good grades in school. I was involved in co-curricular activities to a reasonable degree. And I never really had an issue meeting deadlines or anything. I always secretly enjoy getting questions about what's going on currently in my life right now. And I still do, to be honest. I'm no multi-millionaire entrepreneur yet, but now more than ever, I feel like I'm doing things that may not be so flashy right now, but I honestly believe that down the line it can lead to a better quality of life. So I feel as if I'm being productive. So the dreaded
"So what are you doing now?"
question doesn't really frighten me personally. Also, pro tip, I think young people such as you or me should learn how to describe what they're doing currently in a way that makes it sound as impressive as possible. Don't lie, but naturally you want to link everything that you're doing to a goal in the future, right? You're not just going to college, you're training to become a writer or a software engineer. You're not just working at so-and-so place right now, you're acquiring the skills and knowledge needed to get the dream job or the position you want in the future, which is so-and-so for so-and-so company most likely, or to possibly just start your own business. Make it sound nice. And apart from the fact that it will just impress people, it will also impress you as well, in the sense that you now have a meaning and more motivation to continue going on with a probably mundane life. No disrespect, but it's always good to set these long-term goals, right? Even when you're somewhere that's not so exciting. But returning back to the point of the video, I just gave you a pro tip or a rule of thumb for dealing with a question that I imagine a lot of people don't like getting. But there is a question that I almost always dreaded getting. I hated this question for such a long time because I always thought that when I answered, it made me sound mediocre. What do you do in your free time? Watch anime. I play video games. I watch football. I watch TV. I watch YouTube. So what do you watch on YouTube then? Sideman, KSI, Mr. Beast, cut videos, video game analytic videos, nostalgia, it's garbage. So does every single other person your age and gender as well. Ask yourself right now, what do you do in your free time? And I mean everything, not just what's safe for work. Video games, TikTok, you might be asking yourself, well, what exactly is the problem with that? Everyone does it after all. But that is exactly the problem with it, in my opinion. Everyone does it. At least almost everyone of this generation. The generation that has the highest amount of people suffering from mental disorders such as depression and anxiety. The generation with the shortest attention span probably of all time. The loneliest generation, despite being the generation that has the most social and communication technology of all time. Generation that reaches life goals later than every other generation in history, or at least in modern history. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a boomer,
but I am going to sound like a boomer right now.
What the hell did people do before the internet and probably TV to, chillax? Well, they probably just listened to the radio, right? And, that's somewhat time wasting. You just listening to the radio, okay? You also read books, socialized, played sports, did creative shit, or just become alcoholic. But I mean, you can decide that. Obviously, not everyone 100 years ago was an alcoholic. Those things are fun, but they also lead to real benefits in the real world. If you read, for example, then you were probably improving your language, your ability to express yourself, or you were just learning something, assuming you were reading non-fiction. If you were playing sports, it meant that you would meet people in real life, and you also became strong and athletic. I think young people back then were just overall more well-rounded than they are today, mostly because of the things that they did in their free time or the habits that they had. They weren't nearly as stimulating or addictive or fun as what we have today. Providing that you have someone willing and capable of financing your lifestyle, you could comfortably spend the whole day inside giving your life energy to people on the internet and not even have the slightest inkling to go outside, talk to someone, be a human being. That's how we've seen the rise of the NEET. Now, I assume that most people are not in a position where their whole life can be free time, and most of us have something productive to do. We have something outside of free time to do. But even so, I want to invite you to critically assess your typical weekday. What does it look like? Are you really working for 4 hours, or did you really only work for 1 to 2 because you decided to pick up your phone for a mini break every 10 to 15 minutes? Do you really have no time to pick up a new hobby or a side hustle because you're busy spending your time on social media or video games? This may not apply to you, but it also might. So carefully assess what you do in a typical day again. But I need to relax somehow, and if I don't, this I will do. The highly addictive free time habits of the modern day are harmful and counterproductive for 2 main reasons, I would say. One being that they can be very time consuming and offer a little to no substance, as already described. But the other reason is that they inhibit your ability to be productive when you actually want to be productive and get something done. Or when you want to do something that isn't directly work, but it's something that you've kind of always wanted to do, if you get what I'm saying.
What? How could that be? It's just free time. Everybody needs time to relax.
That is true. I do believe that relaxation and fun are important and pretty much necessary if you don't want to like burn out or like destroy your brain or something. So what am I even getting at right now? I don't believe that these habits are really innately relaxing. And this is coming from someone who used to do them, at least habitually. It is fun because the activities stimulate the dopamine producers and receptors in your head, making them pleasurable. But relaxing is definitely not the word to use. And that's not an accusation or my opinion, by the way. It's simply neuroscience. The more one uses these things, the more one builds up a reliance on them. The less stimulating or pleasurable or relaxing they become, although I wouldn't describe them as relaxing in the first place. And the more irritated you become in everyday life when these things are not easily accessible. It's the same reason why weed or alcohol are not good for stress. It's good for being a junkie, but if you really want to address your situation long term without having an addiction or dependency, then you really have to look to other ways of dealing with stress to really become the cool, calm, collected person that you kind of want to be. And be honest with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. Are you relaxed when you see someone else's stupid political opinion, or when you're playing an intense match? How easy is it for you to go to sleep right after doing some of that stuff? Are you constantly thinking about crap you didn't see, or constantly losing your train of thought because you keep on thinking about that one character that's gonna come up, man? You gotta get that character, or that one last match you did and what you would have done, or how you're gonna win the next debate on social media. Forget what these articles and studies say. Analyze how you actually feel. Relaxing means sleep, meditating, reading a decent book, staring out at the sea, something that brings your emotions down instead of up, and something that is likely pretty boring. The fun is true, but it's the type of fun that is very long lasting, and after a while you sort of start to do it just mere out of sheer habit and not really for the love of it to begin with. It's like, do video games really hit the same as they did when you were a kid? Despite these obvious drawbacks, I've realized that these habits, social media and video games namely, take up a lot of space in my personal head even when I'm not doing them. You don't just use social media for a certain amount of time per day. Maybe you dedicate a certain amount of time to it and then you put it down, but then you're thinking about what you saw, what points you could have made in that debate, what meme you saw, what trend you found funny, and all these things are coming back when you should be focusing on something else. And it's not up to you, it's not your fault, it's just the nature of the platform you're using. And then you compound that with the fact that you probably are the type of person who picks up their phone neurotically or compulsively when they're trying to focus on something else, aka like the average person. These pauses seem minute on the surface, but they add up. not just in terms of time wasted, but also in terms of attention bandwidth, I guess you could say. Same with video games. You can play 1 hour video games per day, right? But then you're also going to continue thinking about the video games. Then you're going to watch videos about that video game. Then you're going to talk to friends about that video game. And then you're going to start thinking about what you could have done or what you're going to do when you start playing the video game again. This is not an accusation or a theory, by the way. This is my own personal experience. And if it happened to me, it probably can happen to you as well. Eventually, what happened to me is that I would start seeing these fun activities more so as chores. That means that I divided my time in a way that they were free time activities, but deep down in my soul or in my subconscious, I didn't really want to do it. I just kind of did it because it was habit and because it's something I do as a person, I guess. Not because it was fun, but because I have to complete Shrines in Zelda today, or because I have to get that DLC skin, or because I have to practice my combos on Smash. I never had an intense gaming addiction. I think for me personally, that would be an overstatement of where I was. I was never the type of person who could spend 8 hours a day running it back. But I really had to get to a point where I had to critically assess how I was spending my time daily. There were other things I wanted to do in my free time. I wanted to gain certain skills. I wanted to start content creation. I wanted to read more. But I had to decorate my house in Animal Crossing today, man. You know, I had to practice my forward aerials, you know what I'm saying? Crap out of here. And I'm not even going to talk about P. If you still do that, stop doing it. You know, I don't even have to discuss about that in this video because there's already so much content on YouTube about it. Like, go watch it. Stop watching P. Stop doing that. Idiot. Not idiot, like, you probably are suffering from an actual addiction, so I don't mean to be harsh, but really and truly, like, if you haven't even considered, then you really should, honestly. So there you go. One of the things you often hear when you suggest these life improvements is, so what should I do? Or what else is there to do? The thing is, the mere fact you're asking that question in the first place shows that you have a problem, because there are things to do. It's safe to say that no one's life is perfect. Everyone has not only career aspirations, but personal aspirations as well. When we spend all the free time that we get doing meaningless garbage, is when we don't really grow as fast as people as we want to. If you don't have any personal aspirations, then bro, I don't know what to tell you. No one is perfect, but you of all people are the type of person that would benefit the most from like spending a whole day in the forest with like nothing to do. Ease off the BS, because if you do, you will most certainly find something to do. This is something I've been thinking about. Someone that has a relatively impressive sounding main hustle is not really that extraordinary, right? But the more I think about it, especially in today's day and age, the person who spends their time, their free time, doing something of meaning, something meaningful to them or to someone else or to like the world in general, is the mark of someone who is really impressive. That's not just the person who's learning to play an instrument as an adult or doing some good reading in their spare time. That's also the person who works a 9 to 5 and then goes home and works on their business. It's a person who gets more work done than you, who earns more money than you, who gets the breathing rights that you want, who gets the body you want, who gets the knowledge that you want, and just gets the life that you want. But you're too busy getting kills on Fortnite, you know what I'm saying? How could this person not be successful? Or at the very least, it's the person who is more interesting than you. And being an interesting person who does, creates, and thinks goes a long way. With that, I am back. Hopefully, if this camera doesn't overheat to eternity, then I should be able to make more videos consistently. Because I was doing something. I'll probably make a video about that in the future if it goes well, like if the result of that thing I did do as well, which I expect it to do. So back from the hiatus, if anyone missed me, and peace.